So this is just a topic that came to mind. Excuse the sweat. Well, it's a combination of sweat and rain because I had to get in my miles today. It's important. I've got races coming up, and just generally, I've been saying this, but I'm working my best and my hardest to get my health back in order because it's fallen out of whack in some ways. I'm not in the type of shape that I would like to be in, not just for aesthetic reasons, but also um, life is nothing without your health. Life is literally nothing when you don't have your health. So, as they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's better to do everything you can. Even if it's a struggle, it's better to do everything you can while you can do it to make sure that you don't spend the rest of your life trying to fix something that is already damaged. With that said, the topic here is what defines a leader. I want to go back to this time in my life about 12 years ago when things were very, very different for me on every level. Physical, mental, emotional, financial. Things were just completely different then than they are now. And I was in a much worse place. As much as I can talk about my depression that I experience nowadays, is nothing compared to where I was then, where I just did not feel like life was even worth living. So I was going to this mental health rehabilitation program. They have many of them. That might sound fancy to somebody who doesn't know what those are, but there's many of them, and they're much more common than you might think. You might even know somebody who you see at work, or you might know somebody who you see working at certain places and they look like everything is cool with them, but they go to these places which are basically, programs that you can go to for if your mental health has become such a deterrent to your life that you need some kind of like mental health rehab to teach you some life skills and some coping skills to be able to manage the outside world. I got involved in that after going to therapy, and my therapist recommended this program that was also connected with my clinic that I was going to. So it was convenient. I would see my therapist. I would go upstairs to the day treatment program. Anyways, that's kind of a side, but what happened in that program was when I first went there, I was very quiet because I was very uncomfortable talking about mental health issues and things that were going on in my life that were hard to deal with because I had never done that before in my life. Then I got to a point where I started to feel better. I started to get more vocal, and I started to just get better overall, which I'm thankful for that place. What does that tie into being a leader? So one thing we did in this place was that we sat in these groups Monday to Friday, and they had like a group leader, and then the group leader would bring topics to the group. Then we would all sit there and we would talk and we would debate, or we would agree, or whatever it was. We would have conversations within that group. And one thing, this one particular group, I'll never forget, they put me in that particular group, and it wasn't by my choice. They just said, Mark, because your mental health has advanced to this level, to where we feel like you don't need this group anymore, we're going to put you in that group. And if there's one thing everybody knows about me, you want me to agree with something before you tell me I have to do it, especially for a voluntary program. It wasn't a job. It was something that actually, me being in the program, assisted them with getting paid. As much as I hate when clients nowadays say that to me, it's the truth in some sense. Like me being one of the numbers in your program contributes to your salary. Not in a direct way, because it's not like each person gives me $1 for everyone that's in there, like $1 a day, but just overall, a number in there for the operations of the program benefits the people who are working at that program. So I didn't like the group that they put me in. In addition to me not liking the fact that they put me in the group by force, I didn't like the group itself. Just because I thought that the things that were being taught in that group were a little more on the common sense side. Because I was in groups, other groups like stress management, money management skills, dealing with relationships. Like there was these different groups that I felt were actually useful for me. And this was some kind of, it was like a vocational group. And at the time I wasn't even trying to get a job. And I didn't even think that the information in the group was really too useful. So I remember this one time we were in the group leader was talking, I was sitting there. I would be quiet in that particular group because I just didn't want to be there, but I complied. It's not like, I spoke my piece like, hey, I don't want to be in this group, but I was like, I'm just going to be quiet and sit and listen. Then when the group is over, I'm going to leave. So one of the groups, the leader kind of was looking at me and seeing that I looked bored or irritated or however I looked on my face, because I can't hide how I feel about things. I cannot say anything, but I cannot actually hide how I feel about things. So she was like, oh, what's wrong, Mark? Do you not agree? I was like, I neither agree nor disagree. And then she wanted to press the issue, like, no, but the look on your face says that you don't agree with what is being said here, or you don't like it or something. Like, what does that look mean? And I was thinking to myself, please don't press the issue, because I'm doing my best not to be a disruption. That's what I was thinking to myself. I felt like I was being responsible by going against what I wanted to do and wanted to say, and just being quiet so that she could run her group, and then I could leave at the end of it. So after asking me about 5 times, 6 times, after the 6th time, I was like, if you really want to know what I think about your group, I will tell you. She was like, go ahead. So I said, all right. I don't think that this group has any use for me personally. I can't speak for anyone else. I think the things that you're giving us in this group, these job tips, are more like for somebody who is just like 16 years old and they are, trying to get their first job that they've ever had in their life. And I was like, I know not everyone's in the same position in here, but I don't need these kind of tips, and I have better ways that I would spend my hour. Something to that effect, which in retrospect, in hindsight, I'm a different person now. I probably would have made a greater push not to be in the group and advocated for myself better outside rather than saying that. But at the time, I was self-righteous in that stance. So I think the group leader was embarrassed, and she ended up saying, does anyone else feel this way? People started raising their hands. They were like, oh, I actually feel that way too. I don't really feel like this information is useful for me. And yeah, I don't really feel like this group provides me with what I need either. I was just kind of forced to be in the group. Yeah, and everyone kind of one by one, maybe like 1 or 2 people said that they liked this particular group leader's group. And then the group leader was like, okay, if you don't think that it's useful, then let's cut the group right now. And she got up and she walked out. And we were in the middle of the group, and she just got up and left. And then we all left. And I kind of smirked to myself a little bit, like, if you didn't want to know how I feel, then why did you ask? Right? That's the way I was feeling at that time. So I remember the director of the program pulled me into her office after that and said to me, Mark, what did you do to make such and such just end the group and leave? And I was like, nothing. I'm like, I can't make anybody do anything. And she was like, okay, well, tell me, because I already heard from her. So tell me from your standpoint what happened. I'm like, okay, there's no standpoint. I just tell things how they actually happen. I had no problem with giving her an exact description of what happened. I said she was going through the group. She was leading the group. She was saying what she always says. Then she looked at me, stops the group, and asked me what I thought of what she was saying. And I told her and I said at first, I tried not to even answer her question, but then after pressing me several times, then I decided, okay, she's not going to leave me alone until I give her an answer. So I provided her an answer. My answer made her, and then she asked if anyone else feels the same way as I do, and almost everybody said yes. And then she got upset and she walked out. That's what happened. And she looked at me and said, Mark, that was really irresponsible of you. And I was like, why? She asked me a question. I answered the question. What makes it irresponsible? So she said to me, Mark, you are a leader and people look up to you. So a lot of those people who said that they don't like the group probably said that because you said that. And I was like, oh, I'm not a leader. I am a member of this program. I attend just like everybody else. I'm not leading anything. So, and if I was a leader, why would I be here? You know, shouldn't I be out somewhere leading? And she told me there's different types of leaders. And she said, you're the type of person who, when you decide to do something, you can shift what everybody else wants to do based on your reactions and your non-reactions, and like based on what you do. Basically, people follow your lead on the way that you decide to behave or act or react. And at the time, I was not trying to hear that, because who cares? Who cares if I do something and somebody does the same thing? That's not a concern of mine, especially not in that position that I was in and not in that place that I was in at that time. But over some years, I started to realize that what she was saying is right. And the reason why I didn't think she was right at that time is because I always saw a leader as the loudest person in the room, as the person who stands in front of the crowd and gives these amazing speeches that just pump people up. And, you know, like I almost want to say like politicians, where they get up on stage and they're like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and who's with me? And they have crowds of people cheering behind them. And that's the reason why I was like, I'm a leader, because that's not my style, that's not my personality, that's not me, that's not who I am. But then I started to realize, you know, I read something in a book that said the best leaders are influencers. Not the people who lead by fear, not the people who lead by manipulation, but the people who decide to do things and they do them based on, you know, what they feel is right. And people look at those people and say, I want to do what they're doing. And I have plenty of people who feel that way about me. So I have leaned into that. Like, I'm more of a quiet leader slash lead by example type of person. Now, there's different types of ways to lead. I'm not even saying that is the only way to lead, because I know people who are not quiet, who are able to spur on change by making amazing speeches to mass amounts of people, or they're able to start fitness movements, or they're able to start like mental health movements, or they're able to start relationship movements, or whatever types of movements that they start. There's people like that, and that's not to say that they're not leaders as well, but there's different types of leaders. There's different types of leaders in this world, and if you're one of those, don't devalue yourself by putting yourself in one box or in one category, because there's many different types of ways to lead. Thanks for listening. I'm upset a little bit because a couple of reasons. I don't know where I lost my watch that tracks my steps. I don't know if there's anything on my phone that tracks my steps, because it used to be Samsung Health, but for some reason it's not letting me log into that. And then I ran this app that was supposed to track my steps when I was running, and then it started raining, and I didn't realize that the app had paused when I was like 0.6 miles away, and then I walked for another 17 minutes. So I hate not being able to actually know all this work that I've put in. It's like working for nothing. Like, it's not working for nothing, but if it's not trackable, it feels like nothing nowadays. But anyways, I hope that you got something out of my message, and we'll talk again soon. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Later.